Faith Fulfilled, Book 1, Chapter 14. Frigid Travels.
We've been walking for days, and we're not even out of the taiga yet.
Mike complained, shivering with each step he took. Days started to get shorter and each night was colder than the last. They predicted a storm was coming soon, and knowing Mike's luck, it would arrive at the worst possible moment.
Those clouds do not look happy,
Destiny said, looking up into the sky.
No, they don't. But I think we have some time before the storm starts. We should use this time to get a little farther and pick up some resources to help us when we ride out the storm.
Perhaps we can look for a hill to dig into. It would be quicker and require less effort just to dig into a hill instead of building up a shelter. We can block off the entrance when the storm starts and plop our stuff down inside.
Sounds like a plan to me.
Mike said, looking around for a suitable hill.
What do you even look for in a suitable hill?
He thought to himself. Most of them were either made of dirt, gravel, or stone. Stone would be the sturdiest but would take the longest to dig through, and the sun was already starting to go down. Gravel was well out of the question. One wrong move and suddenly you're suffocating. Dirt was the best option out of the three, especially on short notice, so he headed towards a tall, dirt hill surrounded intensely by trees.
Found one that looks good!
He called to Destiny.
Okay, great.
She said without even glancing over.
You start digging through. Make sure there is space that can fit both of us. I'm gonna try and find some animals for food because we're running low.
She started walking to a different part of the forest. Mike wanted to stop her, to tell her that they could find fruit somewhere, but he knew it would be a useless endeavor. The only fruit you could find in the wild was apples and watermelons, neither of which were even in the taiga biome. Plus, meat would be more filling and last longer. He just always hated the idea of killing helpless animals, even if it was for food. After watching her leave, he turned to the hill, readying his wooden shovel.
Let's hope this doesn't break on me.
2 hours go by, and the wooden shovel in Mike's hand is barely holding together after being used so many times. During the middle of the process, he had to take out his pickaxe to break some stone he ran into. When he finished, the wooden shovel was nothing more than chunks on the ground. Mike placed his crafting table and furnace side by side against one of the stone walls. Using some wood he chopped from outside, he crafted a large chest to store the items they each had. Before they left, Destiny had found 2 poorly thrown together sleeping bags they could use because, despite what Ray had said, they couldn't bring breads along and didn't want to keep making them each night. Destiny returned with a chicken and some raw pork chop.
All right, that should do nicely. Much better than the moldy bread Ray gave us, and probably better for our health, too.
Yeah, this should last for the next few days. I'm not the best cook. I usually just bring enough from the beginning. What about you? Any good at cooking?
I think I am. Clyde always makes fun of my cooking, though. Probably because I always rip on his. Poor fool doesn't know a soup from a stew.
Good. Just hand me some coal and I can get the furnace warmed up.
Sure thing.
Mike paused for a moment, trying to remember where he'd placed the coal. When he went back to the chest, it wasn't there. He moved to his bag but found it empty.
I'm pretty sure you're the one who has it.
He said to Destiny while still looking.
No, I told you to carry it because the coal stash was closest to your room.
Well, I don't have it. Maybe...
He stopped mid-sentence, remembering what had happened. The day before, Mike had tripped while they were climbing a hill. He dropped his bag when he fell and attempted to catch himself. It rolled a little ways down the hill when he dropped it. When he finally did find his bag, he quickly picked it up and ran out to catch up with Destiny. The bag had seemed lighter than he remembered, but he didn't think to question it at the time. The coal had fallen out of his bag and rolled down the hill without him even noticing. What seemed like a blessing at the time now turned into trouble for them. They were now going to have to go through the night without food to eat or any warmth. If they didn't find coal soon, they would likely either freeze or starve to death. Mike suddenly felt a chill down his spine. He didn't know if it was from the cold air or from his nerves. Did he really feel this worried about some coal? Looking up, he realized the situation was much worse. In the midst of all his digging, he had forgotten to get some extra wood to make a door. There was nothing blocking the entrance outside, and it started to snow quickly. Destiny had realized this almost immediately after him, and was already grabbing whatever loose rocks she could to cover the open hole. When the hole was finally covered, the hiding place was shown to be almost pitch black.
Hopefully the storm dies soon.
Mike said warily, as if he had already guessed it wouldn't die down for a while.
We hardly have the resources to stay for more than a few days.
Yeah, hopefully. For now, we should probably sleep. Guess we'll be stuck with this moldy bread for a little while. At least it's cold enough that the meat won't rot. We should head to sleep now.
Right.
They headed towards the sleeping bags. Destiny got in with ease. She moved like a cat. One would even think she could see in the dark. Unlike Destiny, Mike managed to trip on a rock while trying to get to his sleeping bag. There was a loud thud.
Nice one, doofus.
Destiny managed to say through her laughter.
You know, I don't have night vision like you apparently do.
Both laughing, they finally made it to their sleeping bags. Though the covers provided some protection from the unforgiving air, it didn't nearly provide enough to give any comfort to either of them. Destiny shivered and scooted closer to Mike. He began to blush and wanted to say something, but remained silent in his discomfort.
Oh, shut it. These sleeping bags aren't blocking out the storm enough, and we need the body heat. Just go to sleep and we won't talk about it.
She then turns over and seemingly falling asleep, leaving Mike alone with his thoughts. He wondered how much longer they would be stuck in the hideout. Eventually, his eyes started to droop, and sleep consumed him. Just like the room he fell asleep in, he found himself in complete darkness. But while he could not see anything, he could hear a distant sound. A voice. But whose he couldn't make out. It was getting louder, and it was calling his name. As the voice got closer, he began to recognize the voice.
No, please stop. You don't have to do this.
As the voice got closer, he began to recognize it. Mike could hear the sounds of people screaming in terror in the background. Fires crackling, structures collapsing, and zombies groaning. He was puzzled, trying to figure out what he was listening to. Finally, the darkness began to brighten up, and he saw he was up in the sky, looking down at a village completely covered in flames. He watched as villagers ran in terror, but they seemed to be looking up at him. Then the voice he heard before returned. It was Isabella? He was now able to see her looking up, pleading with him.
Stop this!
She begged with tears in her eyes. She was looking right at him, her body trembling, along with the rest of the land. The ground cracked, and lava was spouting out of the holes in the soil. The air was hot as a volcano. This heat was overwhelming. He had just been in a room that was freezing cold. Now he found himself in the air that was boiling. The next thing he saw, he could never forget. He saw Isabella standing feet firm on the ground, melting away. He reached out to try and pull her out, but he was just too high up in the sky. Isabella disappeared underneath the boiling hot ground. Mike was in shock. Everything had happened so fast he had had no time to comprehend what just happened. Before he could make up a response to what he just saw, the scene went dark. The overwhelming heat was replaced with a chilling cold. At first, Mike was confused, but soon he understood where he was. He was back in the shelter. But what he didn't know was that a dream? Was it even a dream? It seemed so real. Maybe it was a sign, a warning of some kind. These thoughts were completely replaced when he remembered that destiny was literally less than an inch away from him. Mike was no stranger to this. He's been in this type of situation before with Clyde. They were once trapped in the taiga biome during a storm where their temperatures took a nosedive, having to rely on each other's body heat to survive. But this felt different. Not just because Destiny is a girl, but something he couldn't quite explain. Mike noticed a silver light entering the room from a small hole in the entranceway. Rolling out of the sleeping bag, he grabbed more stone and began filling the hole when he noticed something. A piece of stone was darker than the rest. In fact, it looked black. Could it be? No. Is it coal? It was dark in the room. He could have easily not seen it. He picked up the dark object and examined it closer.
Yep, no doubt about it. That's coal, all right.
Mike thought, avoiding the possibility of waking Destiny. He quickly found a stick, made a torch, and lit it up. The heat from the torch immediately relieved Mike of the chill he had felt all morning. He placed the torch close to the sleeping bag so that they could be warm, but not before he lit up the furnace, putting in some spare sticks he had kept. The meat that Destiny had collected was still in her bag. It was cold to the touch, and Mike almost dropped it, but he placed the meat in the furnace. Hopefully, in an hour or so, the meat would be fully cooked. He heard a growl nearby. Readying his sword to fight off a monster, he noticed there was nothing there. When he heard it again, he looked through the hole in the entrance. Still nothing. Suddenly, Destiny groaned as a third growl was heard. She sat up, holding her stomach. The sound was not a monster at all, just the sound of her hunger. They hadn't eaten the night before, so they wouldn't get sick from the raw meat. She sniffed the air. Mike could see the yearning in her eyes for something filling.
What is that smell?
She noticed the hideout was much brighter than it had been the day before. When she felt the warmth beside her, she turned to see the torch by the sleeping bags.
You found the coal?
No. Wait. Yes. No, but yes. Ah! I'm just gonna start over. I found some coal in the makeshift door we built, so I took it and replaced it with some actual stone.
So you mean we could have had some warmth all night? Ugh, I can't believe I missed that.
The pork chops will be done in an hour or so. Want to see if it's okay to go outside? Maybe find some wood? More coal?
Yeah, why not?
Destiny stared blankly ahead of her, lost in thought. Her face looked troubled.
Hey, what's up? You okay?
Huh? Oh, yeah, sorry. Just a bad dream.
You gonna be okay?
Yeah, I'll be fine. Nothing a little fresh air can't fix.
She then gets up from her seated position and heads out for the opening.
That's strange.
Mike thought. He knew everyone got bad dreams, not just him. But what were the chances of them both having one the same night? His questions would have to wait as an abrupt yell cascaded into his ears. Mike quickly runs outside and sees a line of skeletons hiding in the tree line's protective shade, with bows drawn back and ready to fire. He quickly rolls out of the way and scans the area. He sees Destiny strategically dodging arrows and getting closer to the skeletons. Destiny slices through the air with her sword and moves from skeleton to skeleton like rapids in a stream, cutting through all her obstacles. It was like watching a ballerina dance across the stage, except in the end, she was the only one left to bow.
Wow.
His jaw dropped.
What are you staring at? You're not the only one who can use a sword.
She said with a smirk.
Yeah, I know. But you just caught me off guard.
What, girls can't fight? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, absolutely not.
Destiny lets out a short laugh.
It's fine. No need to overthink it. You already do enough of that on your own.
I don't know whether to be insulted or...
There you go, overthinking things. Yet again.
Yep, insulted it is. Well, overthinkers get pork chops.
Hey, I worked hard for those.
After the two had finished fighting over who got the pork chop, they broke down their temporary home and started back on their journey to find a village. They walked in peaceful silence with sticks and leaves crunching under their feet.
So, how did you meet Ray?
Mike spoke up, breaking the comfortable walking silence.
He kidnapped me.
What?
You should have seen your face.
Yeah, ha ha.
Ray may be a hardhead sometimes, but he isn't evil.
So how did you really meet?
Well, I was maybe around 14 years old is when we first met. I grew up in a small village similar to the one you're from. I was born in your stereotypical nuclear family, one dad and one mom. Life was simple, and there was rarely ever any change. Then one particularly unlucky night, a large horde of zombies attacked my village, and many of our guards and trained fighters were injured. When the day broke, the zombies had gone back to their caves, and my village was left in shambles. As the day went on, the few of us that weren't nursing their wounds or helping the wounded were out digging through the remains of the crumbled houses. We all thought that that night was going to be our last.
But I sense a but coming.
But then Ray came along. He was traveling in the forest near our village, and he had said that he saw a faint torchlight and started his way over to where we lived. That night, he protected all of us. He fought a horde much stronger and bigger than the night when everything fell apart. Because of him, my village was safe. Also, because of him, I had this new surge to do something bold and new. He sensed this with me and trained me to become a sword fighter. He was tough on me, but I was determined to learn. I wanted to be strong enough to protect my village as he did. After I had grown in my training and in age, he asked me if I would accompany him and his wife in the taiga biome they are in, so I could continue my training. I instantly agreed and left.
What about your family?
My family was upset, of course, but I was determined to train harder so I could protect them.
She pauses as memories begin to flood back.
They didn't make it. A little after we had left, I got news that another horde hit my village and left nothing but smoke and ash.
I'm so sorry that happened.
Don't be. Not having any family ties makes it easier to fight. No one to worry about going back to.
Destiny plasters a smile on her face, and they fall back into a silent rhythm of crunching leaves.
Attachment isn't a weakness. In fact, in times when I needed to protect someone I cared about, I increased my skill by doing so.
Yeah. Until you're protecting yourself from them.